So welcome to a different kind of episode. I'm going to start off right away and go, this is not meant to be a pretty video. It's not meant to be cinematic. It's not also meant to be, dip in, dip out, quick sort of content. This is something that's more akin to a podcast in the sense that you can put this video on, pop in your earpods, do your work, and just listen to two industry professionals rapping about cars, rapping about their experience in the motor industry, in the journalistic side. I've been doing this for about 15 years, maybe 16, 17 years, I guess. Oh God, I'm old. But anyway, and then I'm chatting to Shudley Daniels, aka Shuds, aka Simply Shuds, aka the Speed and Sound Cape Town guy. And we're very different kinds of people, but we've actually got a lot in common, like a lot in common. And I think that if you're interested in the scene, there's a lot of knowledge here, there's a lot of stories here, there's a lot of opinions, damn, for sure there's a lot of opinions here. So without further ado, here is my experience chatting to the man himself about his career. We touch on my career, we touch on a lot of cars, car culture, stance, all kinds of stuff. So yeah.
Friendly. Check my smile.
The world show me one way, I'ma go my own. Ride my own. Ay, 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 ay. Ride my own. Ay, 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 ay. Ride my own. Ay, 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 ay. Ride my own. Ay, 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 ay.
Thank you for coming. I know it's a long time coming. I'm a big fan of your work. I feel like what you do is important in the scene. There's a lot of guys that what they're doing is very important, and I just don't think, they're kingmakers. They're putting other people on the stage, but there's very little about them that actually gets recognized. So this is my small, tiny contribution to getting the right people out there and seen by my little audience. Introduce yourself for my humble audience.
Okay, I'm Shudley Daniels. I've pretty much been in the car scene since forever. I grew up with cars. I come from a car-loving family. My dad had iconic cars. My brother is a mechanic, and so I was always surrounded with cars. I've been with Speed and Sound in a, let's call it an advisory role for probably since the inception, because I know Anna and Joe. And then I've been writing for Speed and Sound and blogging on the website for the last 5-6 years, I think it is. I've also come from a racing background, so that is, I've been, I don't know if I should say proudly but I used to be an illegal street racer that converted to legal racing. I haven't been racing for the last 5 years now because of work, and I'm just too busy.
Yeah, I think there's without taking over, there's a big misunderstanding or a very small-minded approach where if you did something wrong, you're a criminal for life, or you did this thing for life. We don't give each other the opportunity to grow and learn and so on. I mean, it's in the media like all the time. Like, if you look what happened with Kevin Hart now, where they're finding old tweets and they're bringing it up, and now he's homophobe, or is this or is that. But I think and it goes with street racing as well. It's like you can do those things. I diced, I watched the dices. If you didn't dice, or if you didn't go watch the dice, then
yeah, look, that is part of the culture and where we come from. And I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that today.
Yeah, I agree. You take paths in your life. It doesn't mean you stay on the path. I find that it's hard for me to criticize people, but at the same time I can try to impart some knowledge.
Yeah. My favorite thing to say is actually not from the Cape Flats.
What is it?
I don't know where I pick it up, but it's never gonna happen. Which is, yeah.
Like a quiet racing team, never gonna happen racing team.
It is. a negative connotation, but I think I picked it up from a movie or something. So
Okay.
yeah, I use it a lot.
Okay. Nah, that's your saying. Never gonna happen. Shudley, never gonna happen. Daniels. Okay. Bumble, never gonna happen. B.
We're getting there.
Okay. Tell me about your car. Tell me about Brutal first.
Okay, Brutal. I've had for the past, I think this is my 7th year. Yeah, I got it in 2012. I was actually, my dad had Mercs and my sister's driving Mercs all these years. I was never really into Mercs. Randomly, I stopped at the car dealer and I saw this shape Merc there, and somehow it just appealed to me. I saw it before, it never appealed, and just this day it appealed to me. And at the time, it wasn't going for much money. It was, I think it was like, it came out, it depreciated quite a bit, like more than half the price. So I was standing there and I was like, this is actually affordable. And then I got this one, which was a one owner car. They had a couple of tweaks already. I got it, it had full service history. It was a very, very nice car. I got it at a good price also. But since I've had the car, I'm more crazy because of the car is, I think, 21 years old now. No issues with the car, nothing. I did a couple of extra work to it, but reliability wise and compared to other vehicles on the market, it's a lot of car for what you pay.
I get that. I think it's also like stages of your life. There's cars that don't appeal to me, and then one day I look at them like, I need to have this car.
Yeah, like people mock me because it's an auto and it's an old man's car and but the car was at Jason at 7 Customs now for a couple of weeks, and I missed the car like crazy because I was driving around in Taz, but I just missed the luxury of the car.
Okay, the other day you posted on social media that the words that come out of your fingers are better than the ones that come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Explain.
Okay, like I'm sitting here and I'm speaking, I don't sound as quiet as when I'm writing. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just talented that way, or not.
Or not talented that way.
Yeah. I've always liked writing, and it comes naturally. Like, I do a feature article in like 5 minutes. It just comes. Like I did one this afternoon, and I didn't smart to do it, and I was like, do I have to do it? And then I started typing, and within 10 minutes I was done. It just came to me. But if I have to speak, I have to look for words, and I have to. Yeah.
There's a lot. I feel the exact same way. So like, I struggle doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I struggle in front of a camera. I struggle to present and generally like hold my own in a debate and so on. But as soon as I'm like a keyboard ninja, but like maybe a god. I don't know. Like I feel like I need that time, that creative space to actually craft something as opposed to on the fly.
I also think that I wouldn't call myself a keyboard ninja, but I need to switch on when I'm in front of cameras, and it's difficult to do that. I can do it, but you have to be, I always call it, I'm in the groove.
Same.
And I need to be in the groove, and lots of times I'm like, it just doesn't happen.
I need to be in the mood. So I notice like the pressure of time helps. Like if it's drugging, then I get out of I pull finger and I get it done.
Yeah.
But that's also what makes it enjoyable. Like you like that extra bit of challenge, and I think you work better, you thrive in that kind of environment also.
Like if I do articles also, I leave it till the last, and I get off on having to deliver and having a deadline and making it happen.
I think that's why graphic designers hate us so much, because they want to go home and we just like not yet hold down. But I think it's a kind of a rare art, or not a rare art, but like it's a lost art on the flats. Well, anyway, I guess people aren't taking the time to craft something. I mean, just look at your WhatsApps.
Yeah, it's an instant world.
Yeah. Who do you look up to in the industry?
It's a difficult one.
The industry being any industry that you work in. So even if it's just the car guys, even if it's other guys doing what you do.
Initially, can't believe I'm gonna admit this, but there was a guy back in the day, Calvin Fisher, that did what I was doing.
Okay, cut.
Other than that, I don't really. I can appreciate people. I appreciate people that are real and who do things with passion, whoever it might be. I think that is a bit lost with the whole car scene these days. I believe I'm probably gonna get slaughtered for this, but people are doing it for the scene to be seen, and it's not
For themselves.
for themselves.
No, I think we all see that. I think the nicest thing I could say, a couple nice things I can say. One nice thing I can say is that the scene right now feels a little bit more like it did, let's say,
Yes.
15 years ago than it was maybe 5 years ago,
Yes.
where there was a lot of like rivalry but getting nowhere.
Yeah.
Whereas now we've gotten back to that community sort of thing where we're together, whether or not what we're doing is the same or the right thing or whatever, but we're back together again, and we're not finding the pain for each other. We're not in each other's way. We're not knocking anybody. And I think what helped is also that I'm gonna use the stance movement as an example of just how when you take out, the personalizing of cars and you work to a standard, and once it's easily achieved, it's not easily, but there's a standard you can achieve. So everyone kind of not necessarily looks the same, but conforms a bit. And we were doing that to a point. You had your show car, you had your drag car. Your drag car looked a certain way. So I think now we're kind of back to where we were, which is nice, but it's still a different scene.
Yeah. I think in the last 5 years, I was always moping and bitching, and I'm known for bitching about the standard of cars and what happened in the car scene. But I've always said that in the last 2 years, it looks like it's changing. In the last 6 months alone, it is very impressive what cars were produced and how it was produced and who produced it. Like you said with the Stan scene, a lot of the people came up with it's got air and wheels at as well. But there's actually work going into air and wheels that you can't see. And the Stan scene is actually, people call me a hater for being a hater against the Stan scene. I'm not. It helped with, as you said, with bringing everything together. That's a scene, but they also produce great quality cars.
What has influenced the way you tell stories? Not necessarily who, but like what you tell stories a certain way. I'll give you an example. It could be your upbringing, it could be your experience with cars, it could be a passion for writing you never maybe knew was there. But what influences you? What's the strongest influence in the way you tell a story?
I think I take pride in what I do and how I do it, more important than what I do. I've grown up on the Cape Flats. I come from a gang-infested area. I went to a school that was named the School of Shame, but I've rised above that, I think. But I've also got that experience. I'm also street smart, and I think it's probably a talent to put that street smartness into words somehow. That is just it. And I think also, I posted the other day and people said, wow, it's like a great read. I observe people a lot. A lot of people that know me says, you got a groot big on Facebook, but in person you're quiet. I'm quiet because I observe and I listen. So, like I always compare to say a comedian and where he gets his work from, he observes people. And that translates, people can identify with it. So the other day I wrote a story in how people speak on the Cape Flats.
I read the whole thing.
Yeah, and I can do that. And I think, don't want to blow my own horn here, but I think that's a talent to be able to switch between. I've also, at school, which also always reminds me, I had an English teacher that says you wouldn't go on a Cape Flats train and speak like you would speak in Bishop's Court. You have to be flexible. And I guess that stuck with me, so that's what I'm doing.
So I'm definitely the same. I can write anything in any language. I can write a story in a woman's voice if I need to. And I think what that means, it's the same as like you said, like a comedian will read the newspaper and everything just to get information, and then they'll go, when they must be on fire, they're on fire. And I think that's the same skill really as the guy that can tell a story in his brain and put it out in whatever format it needs to be formatted. I don't mean internet or print, I mean language. And I mean, when you grow up on the Cape Flats and you gotta diversify, you gotta adapt you have to. There are certain people you go and you chat to the way you chat to them, they're gonna put you in a box and you're not gonna move where you wanna go. So there's a bit of being a chameleon to be successful. Not fake, but you need to adapt. Not everyone is the way we are. In fact, very few people are apart from us. From where we are geographically.
When I write, this is gonna be difficult to put into words now. I write to somebody who's reading, if that makes sense.
Perfect.
Like I put myself in that situation, and if I proofread my stuff, I'm like, would somebody find this enjoyable? Many times I finish an article in record time, and then I scrap the article because I just didn't have that extra bit of.
Well, that's part of the job, in my opinion. It's knowing your audience and then writing for them.
I think knowing your audience is important.
I think there's scope to elevate your audience, but there's also a danger of alienating them. So you even now, I use alienate and elevate in one sentence. It's like 5% of my viewers are going.
Yeah, true.
Just took the piss out of our own audience.
But then also, I've learned to not underestimate the audience.
Absolutely, that's kind of where I'm going. So like, if you're always dumbing yourself down, you're not giving your audience the chance to rise up. And if they're from where we're from, then they're smarter than most people give them credit for.
I had somebody message me on Facebook, and I'm gonna be a bit crass now, but it was a Boeretani from somewhere on the West Coast to say a 7-year-old enjoys my articles. And then I got somebody who's an Indian guy of, I think he's 60 odd, who messaged me also to say, well done on the articles. And that to me gets me going. That's my inspiration for what I'm doing. I get a lot of flack and I get a lot of hate, but I get those messages that
keeps you going.
Keeps me going,
You must also realize, I think, that you are an industry professional. You've been doing this long enough now with the perspective that only you have for enough of a time to actually be an authority on what you're doing. So you're pretty much a specialist. So while you're never going to please everyone, you need to. It's like you got to throw the net wide and see what lands on. And I don't always pick up a magazine, but I'm always on Facebook, for example. And sometimes you surprise me. Sometimes I'm like, different circumstances, that's something I would have written. Not that I consider myself putting myself up, but I mean like I can relate exactly. And I know when I put an effort into a story, and if I'm seeing the same thing from you, I know what's gone into it to get there. What do you think our scene's biggest challenge is? Scene's a terrible word for what is really such a diverse community. Drag racing, show cars, just generally. There needs to be a lot more space in the middle for everyone else. But what do you think our biggest challenge right now is?
The biggest challenge would be to identify a way forward. While there is togetherness, you still have your breakaways, and you can see with car clubs, there's such 2 million car clubs in Cape Town, whereas back in the day we had, I think, 5 or 6 car clubs. But these days it's like everybody wants to do their own thing and be a part of something, but not willing to commit as a unit or conform as a unit. There's always, politics will always be there, but there's just too many splits and too many people wanting to do their own thing.
I think 4 or 5 guys that have cars in the same street, they want to be a club. They want to be that street club.
I think also what gets to me is people don't realize what it takes to. You see, the scene has blown up so much in the last 2 decades. I say 2 decades. That everybody who's got to set the rims on his car is thinking he's got the car worthy of a car show. Or he's in the car scene because he has. I've seen Mark 1 Golfs and I've bitched about it before and I'm going to bitch about it again. Mark 1 Golfs with decals, and that is a big reveal. They're going to reveal the car. That is not what you want to see. I think also with the younger generation, they try to be inclusive. Everybody must be included, and I get that, but it's okay to not be part of an elitist crew because you don't have an elitist car, and that's just how it is. I think also lots of people don't. My problem is I can't keep quiet about it. So with regards to anything, people will agree with me, and now I'm gonna be seeing that I have cameras on me. People agree with me constantly with what I post or what I say in features and in articles and in my blogs. They inbox me and they, yes, you're right. But out there in the public, nobody sticks with me. So with regards to that, also I've been times when I'm like, I just quiet about the whole thing, because at the end of the day, then I'm the bad guy. But I guess I'm a voice for people.
I think we must remember, the difference between a writer and media. Media reports, but the writer becomes the news as well.
Yeah.
So when you're saying something or you're not saying something, you are contributing to the story. You're becoming part of the story instead of reporting on it. And I think it's worth celebrating that there's enough of a following or interest that we're seeing that kind of a circle of communication and content that we actually part of, and not just reporting.
Yeah.
You become part of what makes the scene. And there's not a lot of people that got that right, because I, for one, don't think that you're controversial. I think you just can't keep your back. And that's quiet, because that's why then you get content. Everyone does.
I also don't do it to. There's lots of times when I'm tired of bitching, but it's just, I guess I've just got certain principles, and that's what I believe in, and it's no use you believing in something and keeping quiet about it. So I just put it out there, and if you don't agree, you don't agree. It doesn't mean I shared something the other day because I had an argument with somebody on Facebook, and he was being funny with me afterwards, and I disagreed with you. It doesn't mean that I don't want to speak to you ever again. Now we're not brassing. That's just the way I didn't disagreement. And that too, you don't get these days. People that can have a debate but not take it personally.
Yeah, so this is one of my pet peeves. Like, people think that let's call it car guy, because we're sick of that other term. Let's call it car guy. So to be a car guy, who decides who gets to be a car guy? Other car guys. You apparently don't get to choose whether you become a car guy. If you played, we went straight, not straight, but we had a debate about, I was like, if you play car games all your life and you love playing car games, and then you buy a car and you do this with your car, you're a car guy. But the day was, your hands, you must come home and you must get dirty with your tools, your oil, everything else. You must work on that car in the garage. Then there's the car guy that he's a geldgat. So he just buys cars. He comes from buying the best cars all the time. He's got cars. He races, he dices, he whatever. And then let's say there's the guy that he watches Formula 1 and a couple of other motorsports. I don't even know what this bra is. But basically every car guy can't agree that everyone's car guy. So everyone's like, nah, but he's not my kind of car guy, so he's not a real car guy, and so on. And the racing thing for me is a big one. Like, there was a time, I don't know if I'm gonna say, like, from my experience, like the early 90s was the highlight of like Formula One for me. That's when, you know, you go to school and everyone's got a motorsport jacket or something, and then things got boring and the engines got smaller and smaller and so on. So I still kind of love F1, but I'm happy to watch the tweets. Yeah. I'm happy to just catch up on a tweet once in a while instead of trying to watch a race now.
I think the last time I watched F1 was when Ayrton Senna died.
Yo.
And that is, I can't even remember. I don't know anything about F1. I know the dude on the photo is Lewis Hamilton, and that's about it. And I know Michael Schumacher's in hospital.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, funny you mentioned that. So like, I remember when I came back, I thought, so I never knew I was gonna have time with the man in the car. So I quickly put together an interview and I thought, okay, I'm not gonna ask the guy the normal, because I'm not hardcore F1, I can't ask the guy hardcore F1 questions. I'm gonna come across as insincere. And I thought, let me ask this guy stuff that no one else ever asked him. So I did that, and obviously, and a lot of people really loved.
Yeah.
But obviously there's people that went, it's not the right questions and it's not what we want to know. I'm like, this guy is telling you how his brother has a learning disorder and how the two of them play racing games. And I'm like, these are stories I've never heard about.
And if you're a true F1 fan, you would appreciate that part of it.
Exactly, not just the, the same question everyone else is going to ask. So yeah, that's kind of...
like, I don't watch F1 per se, but I will watch a documentary on F1 technology in the cars, maybe. Stuff like that I'd watch.
But also it might end up in your car one day, so it's kind of more relevant. Are there any upcoming feature cars you want to give us a clue about?
I just finished Ben's car now. That is a new issue. That is like...
Doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. For a while or so, we saw the yellow Quantum dominating the scene in terms of car shows, and I think Ben's taken over, which is a good thing to show that people are coming through. Cars, upcoming features. I just did an article today on Quentin Boylan's dad's car, which is a hot rod that we don't feature often. So it was quite enjoyable doing that. Oh yes, and then we have a VAG car from Joburg, which is quite nice.
Muketa?
No, it's Joburg.
Oh, okay. Car. You going up for it or someone else is doing it?
Someone else is doing it. I wanted to do it, but I had too much to do this week, and deadline is now. So we decided to give it to someone else to do. Although I'm not a golf fan, but this is a
special one.
Very special one.
As a car guy, how important is music to you?
It is. Look, I can't drive a car without music. Let's put it that way. And I like older music. Obviously, I'm not gonna give my age away now, but also I started out being a car guy. My mom said my first word was car, and this is why I kind of differentiate between car guys, and I think I'm a proper car guy because my first word I spoke was car. I played with Matchbox. I collected Matchbox because I still have a Matchbox car collection. I played with it since till I was probably in. I'm not gonna say that. but I was.
He's older than me.
I was old, and I still played with my Matchbox cars. In fact, I could drive real cars already, and I was still playing with Matchbox cars. What was the question now? Oh, music. Yeah. Now back to my dad had a car like yours, 4.1, and I guess that was my step into cars also. And I used to be a Lionel Richie fan, so I'd pretend I was sitting at the back seat with a toy steering, listening to Lionel Richie, and so now I only play Lionel Richie in my car. And people who drive with me will tell you this one song, what's it called? Running with the Night.
Yeah.
That is my race song. And everybody that drives with me says, if that song plays while you're driving, you drive better. And it's just, I don't know, it's maybe a blast from the past and something I can't get rid of. But music is pretty important to me.
Yeah, no, for me it was same story, but George Benson tapes. I can still see the white cassettes.
I go live on Facebook with my George Benson when I'm driving. Just last week I went to a meeting at Gringo's, and then I left that meeting at about 10 o'clock. And on my way home on the Into, the car just felt in the groove and George Benson was on, and I ended up in Strand because I just felt like driving.
Yeah.
And that's what it means.
Okay, so it is very important actually.
It is very important.
I don't think,
actually, yeah.
and I think it was the right question to ask. That was almost the last question I had. I just thought like, what would I like to be asked? And
Yeah.
I think, it's so easy to mix the two, because you can't. Well, you can, but you it's not normal to not listen to music.
Yeah.
I don't mean 6x9s and a subwoofer. I mean like music takes you somewhere.
Yeah.
And the car takes you somewhere.
Yeah, and also when in the 90s how the scene was, and we used to go and we used to drive with the music. Even now on Sunday I was driving in Seapoint, and I rolled my windows down and I had that Tupac with a vulgar language, and white people were looking at me like, how the fuck? And that was just, I don't know.
Nah, it's true. And it's funny, like the idea of like really clopping the music and driving something, it really doesn't appeal to me. But if I can hear it and it's loud in my ears and it's something that means something to me,
that is also, I think that comes with age, because I used to clop the music. Now I'm clopping the music, and when I get to a red light, and I put the volume softer. So
there's something nice about growing up actually. You're more comfortable.
true. Just not there. Just myself grumpy.
Do you have any words of wisdom or inspiration for anyone watching right now?
Words of inspiration. I think just do it. There's another quote I use often. I know it's a Nike quote, but
Take it.
but just do it. And that's what gets me going also. I know I said never gonna happen, but there are many times when, like writing a feature article, I would just do it. Or if I'm at work, and like now I had to be at 7 and I had to finish work, and I had to work late, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this, so just do it. And I told Calvin I'll be at 7:30, so just do it. I could have phoned and said I'm not gonna make it, but I rushed because
There's always that danger.
just do it. So yeah, in anything you do, just go with it and just follow what you think is right. I think also with me, I have 1 or 2 people that I confide in or that I get advice from, not often, but I'm just true to myself, and I back myself to just do it.
Cool. Dude, thank you so much. Really
Thanks to you.
appreciate it. I think that's a message that doesn't get out, and I'll make damn sure it does.
Sure, thanks
Peace.
for the opportunity.